Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
You're listening to Drunk on Broad, Philly Sports Unfiltered! From Broad Street down to the bank, we bleed red, green, black, blue, and gray. Racial classes, KJ pride, Philly's hardware, drunk on the ride. EAG Elliott flying high tonight, Sixers lights up, the sky's so bright. Flyers crash like thunder on the ice. Philly swinging, everything's nice. Union chanting, passion loud and raw. City of grit, we break every law. Down, drunk on broad. No, we don't sleep. City of champions, running deep. For another round, let's make it loud. Feel it forever. We're Broad Street proud. Drunk on Broad. Yeah, we're home. Drunk on Broad.
All right, Eric. Good morning. Good Saturday morning. It's a little Saturday drunk on the Phils. It's Eric. It's been a rough week in Philly sports. We had the very high highs of beating the Celtics and Penguins in the first round, and now the very low lows of potentially on the verge of back-to-back sweeps with the Flyers and Sixers. Good thing for us right today. The Phillies have kind I'm going to use the word kind of come back to earth with a very, very, very frustrating start. A lot has happened in this first handful of games in the season, to the point where they had to make a move on a manager and moving on. They make the decision to move on from Rob Thompson and bring in Don Mattingly. And you've seen the bump from the now whether that's the product of playing not as good teams. That part to me seems very strategic that they made the move when they did. But talk to me through the time leading up to the decision to move on from Rob Thompson, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, it stinks because I've always liked Topper. I thought he was a good manager. He seemed like a really nice down to earth guy. And quite frankly, I don't necessarily think much of this at the beginning of the year was really his fault. But the manager's always kind of the first domino to fall when a team with expectations starts to go. So it was understandable. Sure. I wasn't angry that it happened. I think there's other people that are more to blame sitting in the front office, but. It is what it is. I don't think they're playing better because of Mattingly per se. I think they're playing better because that was kind of the fire that they needed lit under them. Realizing, okay, there's going to be repercussions because we have this payroll, we have this roster, and we're just not performing up to what they should have been. It's unfortunate that Rob had to take the fall. But you can't really argue with the results. I think it is kind of the spark that they needed. Even minus the game Thursday night where they lost 12-1. Every other game, they won 5 of 6 leading up to that. The offense seems to be keeping them. It is more exciting now. It's like I think last time we talked, it was if they were down like 2 runs at any point in the game, I'm like, well, that's it. Turn it off because they're not coming back. Now it's last night's game, made a little run, didn't end the way the Phillies wanted it to, but at least now I could kind of feel when I'm watching it, okay, they're in it at least, So I think that was kind of the spark they needed. Again, I don't think Mattingly is going to necessarily be the like. I don't think he's that much of a different management style guy than Thompson was. But I think that was maybe what they needed to kind of give him a little push.
Yeah, I think it's just Eric. It's just a product of like having a different voice in the room.
Yeah.
Even if the message is similar, having having a different voice. You know, he's a guy who is like revered in that in the Yankees franchise, right? And that holds a lot of weight with a lot of guys in this locker room. There's a lot of guys in this locker room that watched him playing growing up. And if they didn't, then they know about the lore of Don Mattingly and
Right.
what he was able to do for that franchise. And to me, I'm looking at this and going, and this is the proverbial broken record, but like, it's not a wonder that the guys that you needed to start hitting are playing a little bit better. That we've said it for a million as long as we've been doing episodes together. The message has always been like the stars are going to carry this team, and those three guys at the top of this lineup, if they're going, this team's going to win games. And then you have games like the Athletics game on Thursday, where no one hits, and you get blown out 12-1. Like it's just this team is going to go the ways of its stars.
Yeah, and it's kind of been that, like you said, like since we've basically been doing the show together, it's because it's been essentially the same roster, same core group of guys, and I don't think there's any reason to change our expectations based off of that. Like the thing that really stinks is how bad they were in April, because I feel like that really put them behind the eight ball, because now I think they're starting to play the way that we would expect the Phillies to play, right? They're gonna have some really good games. They're gonna have some games where you want to rip your hair out because they can't have any situational hitting, or in certain cases just hitting in general. But it's like at least now you're starting to see what this team is capable of, and seeing guys like Justin Crawford, starting to finally getting his first home run last night. That was cool to see. Obviously, he's not here for power, but just like seeing guys like that contribute as opposed to just relying on Schwarber and Harper, who have kind of been the two cogs of this this lineup, despite Schwarber's potentially record-breaking strikeout season. But he's also mashing taters, so I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the give and take with that guy, right? Like you're going to get the massive power like you got last night where he hits 10 rows into the second deck, and then you're going to get at-bats where the pitchers make him look silly, and he looks like he's got the one-arm swing because he's so out in front of it. And the hard part is, right, you're looking at a Braves team that's got off to a really great start. Who's now I'm looking at the Phillies sit 9 games back in third place in the East. The problem with where they are is that at this point, unless the Braves have a dramatic fall in the middle of the season, at the same time that the Phillies have a 10-game win streak, you're looking at battling a really, really, really deep wild card, which is going to be there are going to be some good teams that are going to get left out of this playoff race.
Yeah, especially in the NL. I mean, it's really deep. And again, going back to kind of shooting themselves in the foot in the beginning of the year because of the fact that they put themselves so far behind Atlanta. I don't want to say it takes the division out of reach yet because it's still too early, in my opinion, to really say that. Because anything can happen, and I don't want to say this because of you never root for this type of stuff, but the way the Braves have been, I guess, prone to big time injuries that could slow down their progress a little bit. Again, that's not what you want. You just want them to kind of stink and the Phillies to do better. But
kind of like the Mets,
right? That is just I'm kind of. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm not as angry about the Phillies, because if the Mets were in the spot where the Braves were and we're sitting down here, I'd be in a very different spot. I don't like the Braves, obviously, but there's just something about the Mets and New York that I just gives me a little extra rage.
It's that geographical rivalry, right? Like
exactly.
And we're seeing it in the in this series with the Sixers and Knicks, right? Like
Hate it.
walking through the parking lot last night, going into the game, and the amount of Knicks jerseys walking across the parking lot into the X, whatever it's called right now, was like, and then to listen back to the game this morning, and to hear the way that as much as we want to say we take over stadiums, these Sixers Knicks games have become like
a problem.
MSG South. Like it's pretty bad. But the fact that the Mets are sitting at 15 and 23 after the offseason that they had and the money that they spent, it really is it makes the kick a little lighter. It doesn't hurt not nearly as much.
Who wanted Bo Bichette? I didn't want him.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, listen, at the time, that move made all the sense in the world.
I was so sad when the Mets got him. Actually, like I really was hoping the Phillies were going to grab him, but
not even sad, Eric. I was pretty angry because that was like that deal was done. It was written. It was in stone, and you had that deal that happened, kind of piggybacking off of the deal with the Dodgers with
Kyle Tucker,
because
that happened the night before, and I said, I'm like, that's going to mess up. I'm like, the Mets are going to swoop in on Bichette now. I said that to my wife right before I went to bed, and I woke up the next day.
You woke up to the news, right? Like,
damn it!
And
I wish I was wrong.
The thing that has really helped this team in this stretch where they're 7-3 in their last 10 is the pitching. The pitching has been better, and you've got the bump of bringing Zach Wheeler back.
Yeah, exactly. Luzardo had the 2 good starts before last night. Last night was obviously kind of a clunker for him, but he's prone to those. I mean, I think we've seen that with him. He'll have a couple good starts. He'll have a bad start. But he just has really good stuff. Like, he's still getting strikeouts. Last night I kind of chalk up to, okay, I'm not worried about him really. Wheeler has looked. I've been very impressed with Wheeler since he's come back. I was a little nervous with some of the rehab starts and hearing reports of his velocity being down and everything, but he looks like he's stepped right back into where he left off. Sanchez was giving up a ton of hits at the beginning of the year, and I think we talked about this, how like he's just so good that even when he was giving up hits, he was still kind of able to minimize damage. So like his batting average against is still like almost 270, which is really high for him. But I think he's kind of like, his last outing was great. I think he's going to kind of even out a little bit. Nola was really encouraging against Miami, which is good to see. Yeah. Hopefully he can kind of replicate that tonight. And then Painter. There's been a lot of. I'm assuming this is going to come up at some point, but do you mind if we
let's just get into it because it's a sore subject because the expectations and the anticipation coming into whenever he was going to make his debut. Now, obviously, right, he battles the injuries in the minors leading up to his debut. It's not at the level that I thought we were getting, right? Like, not expecting him to come in and be like ace number 1, top of the rotation. But I definitely didn't expect him at this point in the season to be the most unreliable starting pitcher-ish. Like, it's been so inconsistent, and it's the I don't know. It's just I think it's more anticipation and expectation, and that's where, to me, I kind of have to take a step back and realize, like, young, getting his feet wet, but like this team is also in a position where they can't. They needed him to take the spot of Taijuan Walker when Taijuan Walker gets released, and not have every 5th day be an automatic loss.
Yeah, and with the Painter situation is really tough because the anticipation has been built up since essentially 2023. But the way I'm looking at it, right, is now he's kind of in the spot where Walker is, and I would the upside of having Painter getting experience in a big league mound versus giving any starts to Walker, I think is beneficial. And here's the thing: like, he's only 23. This stuff is there. It's the command that's really kind of been the issue for him. And I know, last year that was kind of supposed to be the first year back from Tommy John surgery, pitching a full season in Lehigh Valley. You're supposed to kind of shake off that rust. But I do think, first time on a big league mound, he's really only been up here for a little over a month. There's people talking about like sending him down and like, oh, we should have traded him instead of Abel. I'm like, pump your brakes, guys. Pump your brakes.
Chill for a minute.
Right? Yeah. I saw a couple comps. Like Jeff Carr, I think, tweeted that, Cole Hamels, his rookie season, he was 22, had like a 5.7 something ERA at the end of the year. And Cole Hamels worked out just fine. Painter's going to go through these growing pains. And that was, I think that should have been an expectation for a lot of people. The issue is like, okay, he's doing it. Like there was never going to be a good time, right? Because the team's competitive. So it's not like you can really just bring him in and, hope that he's pitching to, ace level potential right away. There was going to be growing pains, and it's happening, unfortunately, in the middle of, kind of a playoff window here. Whereas Hamels came up in 06. They were getting better at that point, but they weren't quite on their run yet. So he kind of had a little more time to, if he stunk, okay, the Phillies were still kind of in that not great era of baseball. Painter's kind of getting thrown in the mix. So I think he'll be fine. I think by next year, we're going to look at a different version of Painter, maybe even after the All-Star break, as he gets more experience in it on a big league mound. But I just hate listening to clips from, some of the local radio talking about, what to do with this guy. And I'm like, well, who is the other option? So you send Painter down, right, to AAA.
Okay, so this was going to be my other question. Right, this is where I was hoping it was going.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, right, do you bring up then a quad A starter, okay, and just hope that they can hold the spot while he does better? Like, you're not getting anyone that's going to be a difference maker anyway. You might as well, I don't want to, sit here and if he continues to struggle and it starts getting in his head and he becomes, a train wreck because of that, then yeah, that's something you look at. But he still sounds confident after all of his starts. Like, I think for being a 23-year-old experiencing some difficulty in the major leagues for the first time, like after every outing, I feel like he's actually pretty thoughtful about what he says. Yeah. And he seems okay. He knows he's struggling. And I think he knows what he has to do. It's just, it's easier said than done when, you're a 23-year-old facing major league hitting. But yeah, one of the hosts of the midday show yesterday was saying something about, setting him down and but that's what my argument is. Like, who do you bring up? Like, Alan Rangel's down there. There's not really a ton of depth who's going to be better. So you might as well just let Painter figure it out and hope he can minimize damage and hope the offense can show up on days where he's a little bit off.
Yeah, Eric, and listen, I'm not really following the Iron Pigs.
I'm going to my first game tomorrow. Actually, I've never been up there. Very excited about it, and so I've been following a little bit. Now, if Aiden Miller was playing, I'd be following a little bit more. I'm sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
It's all good. It's all good, but from what I'm seeing, I'm not there's nobody there, and AAA is kind of hard because AAA is kind of where it's a weird mix of quad A is a really accurate term, right? It's piles of guys that are former major leaguers that are trying to get back in, that are kind of holding on, and then your prospects that don't belong in AA. Because they've been a prospect really long, but they're not ready for the major leagues, and it's a weird spot. That's why you normally see those guys jump from AA right into the right into Major League Baseball. But there's nobody on this roster that I'm seeing, one, that's jumping off the board, but two, that is performing at a level that you'd be like, him, that's the guy that He can hold it down for a month and a half, And I agree with your perspective in terms of getting him these reps is what at this level with this team around this staff. I want him around Sanchez, Wheeler and Luzardo and Nola,
and even Nola, yeah.
He at the very least, if he is not pitching elite, he's at least able to talk the language of being in the major leagues right? And he can be around those guys and see how they prepare day to day, see what the mental reps look on the off days. There's way more benefits for him being here physically because of what's here and the resources that are here than him going and pitching at the AAA level. Because
Right.
here's the other thing: what happens if he goes there and is still having the same struggles? Now
Yeah.
it's curtains. Right now, he's a prospect that floundered in the major leagues. You tried to give him a breath of fresh air in the AAA and it didn't work. And now what do you do? Right now, it's a prospect that almost has no value and you can't move off of. It's a weird dynamic. Talk to me about the back end of the bullpen, because the back end of the bullpen, right? Duran has been out with an injury, and where this team kind of is living, because there's some guys that are kind of as advertised, and then other guys not so much.
Yeah, and I think case in point, the first guy we'll talk about is Brad Keller, who has been, I think, the biggest. Over the offseason, I thought that was the best acquisition the Phillies made, and
Me
he has
too.
turned into the biggest disappointment that of an acquisition the Phillies have made. Like he just doesn't. He just hasn't had it. I mean, he just hasn't had it. It's plain and simple. I mean, he's not pitching well with runners on base. He's giving up runs, like all the things you don't want your setup man to do. He's doing. So I'm really disappointed there. I really hope he can figure it out because to me, that was one of the reasons that the Phillies bullpen took such a big step forward, allegedly took a big step forward in the offseason. But yeah, I mean, there's certain guys coming around a little bit. Like Alvarado has looked, I think, a little bit better. Like he really struggled in the beginning, but he's definitely looking better. Duran, I think, is still shaking off a little bit of rust. That's why I'm guessing they just brought him in last night just to get work because he's still figuring that stuff out.
For sure.
But yeah, there's been a couple guys that have been pretty impressive, like Tim Meza. I know he's not a back end guy, but he's been a pleasant surprise.
Solid.
Chase Sugar, 2 wins in the same day. He has been, he's been kind of a fun guy to watch.
For sure.
Again, I don't want him pitching in the 9th inning necessarily, but like you need a guy who can come in and do that stuff. A guy that you're not really expecting, who can come in and plug in a spot where there's some injuries. So yeah, I mean, I think there's some reason for optimism in the Phillies bullpen, but the Keller situation needs to be fixed because that's going to hold them back. Kerkering, I just forgot about Kerkering. He's looked like last night walking off the mound, showing a little fire. I love that. Hoping he's kind of back in business because if Keller can't figure it out, I mean, who do you move into that right-handed later inning role? Kerkering would probably be one of those candidates. I was hoping it was the other way around. Then Keller could take that pressure off of Kerkering, but I don't know if it's going to go that way.
It's a predicament that I didn't think we would be in. Right?
Yeah.
When that move happens in the offseason, we're all like, yes, best bullpen in baseball. Right? Like when you look at the guys on paper. It looks really good, and it just hasn't. It's hard because it's like they've gotten themselves into some situations where starters go out early, right, and then they're using the bull, and then it has that dramatic effect throughout the rest of that series. But like. The starters are going to carry this team. And it's now at a point where they need to do whatever they need to do to make sure that they make the playoffs. Because in a playoff series, everything gets extended.
Yep.
Right. And we saw that last year when they took on the Dodgers, that having the opportunity to have, you eliminate all those guys that are at the back end of your bullpen that you really don't ever want to see the light of day. And then you look at the role that puts some of your starters, right? The way that it's played out right now, right? Like a guy like Painter is going to be a guy that probably would become like a late inning guy, like a guy that you add to your bullpen, right? depending on where Sanchez and Alvarado and Wheeler and Lazardo, right? That's a pretty solid starting four that in a short series you really don't want to run into anything, because a lot of those guys, right, will pitch deep, run big counts, and play the at bats the way that you want in a playoff series. My fear right now is where we kind of started the conversation, is like where they sit right now. And obviously we know very, very long season. It's going to be a long summer, but it's going to be a very, very kind of marathon climb to be able to, win games when, the Nationals and Braves lose, and figure out ways to kind of progressively make up ground when they can. Whenever those two teams match up, the importance of those series throughout the rest of the season are going to amplify tenfold, because they're going to mean so much to the Phillies, considering where they are with the way that they started.
Yeah, I know it is. It's long, but it'll be fun. Like, not that
For
I
sure.
want to start in a hole, but it kind of gives you a goal, right? Like, rather than having to maintain the pace and like set the pace, playing catch up can sometimes, I think, almost inspire a team a little bit more, rather than having some of that like complacency. Like, oh, we're in first. Like last year, the Phillies were in first by 9 games for most of August and September.
Yep.
And so, they didn't have to play as hard, and the guys were getting rest. They couldn't, I think, and we've talked about this before, right? When you go into the playoffs, the hot team is going to be the one that wins a playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were a little stagnant going in. This year, they're playing catch up, and
Right.
hopefully that they can play some inspired baseball and get like. I want to see these guys get fired up. Like, just look like you're having fun out there on the field. That's why, like, when Kirkering was walking off the mound last night, I was like, oh, there we go. There's a guy showing some emotion, actually.
Right.
And Crawford after his home run.
They're
like,
alive in there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you want to see that, because you really don't see much of it from the kind of like leaders of the team, and like Schwarber, Harper, Realmuto. I mean, I will actually say, like, they're Schwarber, Harper, Realmuto have all been having pretty good seasons in their own respect, but you just don't really see like that coming alive. And I want to see them like play with that fire, play with that passion that they had, and playing catch up might actually help them do that, because now they're playing, they're chasing, and it's like, okay, we have to do this to get to October. So I don't know, maybe it'll help them play some more inspired baseball. I don't like playing catch up, but
No.
I'm trying to spin a positive out of it here.
No. I listen. I'm going to spin your positive with a guy who's been absolutely atrocious. Talk to me about Bohm. Bohm has been in a contract seat. Like, he's playing for a contract. He's wildly underperforming, right? I'm looking at the stats as of this morning, right? Hitting 159 with 1 home run and 15 RBIs. Like, it's bad at bats, kind of like very average in the field. What do you do? Because this is a 2-part conversation. Because on the back end of this, I want to talk to you about Aiden Miller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was basically where I was going to steer it, so that works out. Yeah, and the thing with Bohm is like, okay, we've said this before. He's not like he's not the worst player in baseball, although his numbers would suggest he probably is. But I really
for a guy who was a 3rd pick in the draft.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's pressure. I know he's got the office stuff field going on, like the lawsuit with his parents, which probably weighs on a guy, I'm sure. But like, I've targeted Bohm. Bohm's last day with the Phillies for a few years now, and kind of hoping that Aiden Miller would be the guy to take that over. And like, I think now it's like, I don't even know if you can wait till the end of the season. Obviously Miller's injured, so there's not really any other road to go down right now. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his numbers, and his slugging percentage is 206 for a guy that's 6'5", and should be able to drive the ball, just can't. His on base percentage is 227. Yeah. There's just like, it's really hard. Like, you want the guy to do well for your team, and he's really putting himself in a situation in this contract year where it's like, who's going to take a flyer on this guy, and how much he might make less in the free agent market than he's making through arbitration right now, which you don't
Yeah,
see super often.
yeah.
I don't know. It's just
He's putting himself in a situation where he's going to have to sign like a 1 year prove it deal with someone.
yeah, right. And it's not
And
even injury based. Like Hoskins kind of do that because he hurt himself.
right.
Where, but this isn't even injury based. This is just strictly skill issue.
And his value on the trade market is like
Negative.
negative, right? Like, so you're probably packing 10 bags of balls with him to send him somewhere. Um, and I think we've been waiting for him to be what Jason Worth was as a batter. Similar
Hmm.
body type, similar build, similar projections. When he was brought into the organization, um, and it just has never materialized.
Hmm.
Um, all right, and here's the I will say the most concerning conversation we'll have today. Aiden Miller has not swung a bat since spring training. Still with the lingering back issues. What's your level of concern?
It's elevating. It's definitely elevating. Like every report that I hear, it's like this is not good. Because of the way he finished last year, I think there was like I really think if he was playing and was even half of the player he was at the end of last year at Reading and Lehigh Valley, that there's a chance he's playing third base for the Phillies right now. Um,
Yeah,
the fact that he hasn't swung a bat, he hasn't really done much in terms of baseball activities is definitely concerning. And this is not like a good. It's not like this is like when he got drafted, right? It was a broken hamate bone getting hit by a pitch, right? That's a
right.
freak accident. Okay, that's back injuries and injuries like this. This is scary because this is
Mhm.
something that could linger and be something that he is kind of dealing with his whole career.
Yep.
And a guy with his talent, you really just don't want to see that happen to a guy like that, because last year I was just picturing him eventually, coming up to Citizens Bank Park. I think
Yeah.
I don't care what I had going on that night. I think I would try to make it down to the stadium and watch his debut. Um, and it's a shame. I think I think they get it figured out. I think he does play this year, but it's just something that like I think we're always going to have lingering in the back of our head. Like, is there going to be some sort of lingering issue with this,
Right.
and how is it going to affect his career moving forward?
Yeah. It just the whole situation doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
No.
And I think the hard part for us as fans is like, right, we're looking at a guy who, for all intents and purposes, has what was putting on a very very impressive performance at Double A, in the field at the at bat, right, bat, hits and like situational hitting for power, and making some really really impressive plays in the field. Like there was a scenario, Eric, that I envisioned where he kind of showed off in spring training, and it allowed the Phillies to kind of move Bohm for whatever they could get for him. Whether that was yeah, and at that point you're probably looking at like late inning bullpen, like a bullpen piece, or an outfield piece and a prospect, like something. But like now you like now I just thought, like, to me, like you're looking at you know next spring to be able to see if that's a guy that you just bring back from Clearwater, and just allow him to kind of start the season with you. Because I can't imagine that there's not an opening at third base. What I'm going to put you in the GM chair.
All right.
What do you do at third base? What's your if you got to make an in season solution? What's the move to kind of solve those problems?
So it's tough because no one's available yet via trade. So I think what you have to do is you either have to try to ride it out with Bohm for a little bit, or just or you just go with Sosa. But I think we're gonna, we've seen before. Sosa is a great role player, but he's not an everyday player. So I don't think you can go Sosa every day. But you're basically your hands are really tied for a while here. I mean, so I don't even know if he could play third as much. I mean, he's a solid infielder, but like Brian Rincon's down I think he's at Reading right now, and he's been a really good fielding prospect for a while. And the bat's coming alive a little bit. It started actually in spring training, and it's kind of carried over into the season. I don't know if you can shift some things around and maybe bring him up, but there's not really going to be any options in terms of trades yet. And then I think you got to just look and see, okay, who's going to be available come July. But also now their hands are tied because they're already paying 2 dead contracts. Moving Bohm will be a 3rd dead contract. You're looking at almost $40 million then in actually almost $40 million in dead money. So I don't know, like, because you can't really bring someone else. You can't bring in another big name third baseman because you're not going to have the wiggle room financially to do that. So I think the best thing to do is wait until beginning of July, wait till the All-Star break, see where you're at with Miller, and then you can maybe kick the tires around on. Oh, I don't even know. Like, who are some third
Can I give
basemen?
you a guy?
Yeah, give me a guy.
I'm gonna give you a guy who's on a team. He's not playing right now. He's sitting out on a 10-day injury
Okay.
on a team that's in last place, and a guy that we talked about potentially last trade deadline this offseason, Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah, he was kind of a
Right?
guy
Like,
on my. Yeah, he was probably the one guy that was kind of on my radar there.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, he would be and especially I think he didn't. His contract was not as crazy as I thought it was going to be.
I think it was like a 1 year, like not a huge financial commitment.
No, it wouldn't be. So he would be a guy that I could see. I think he's kind of in the declining years of his career, but you're going to get more offensively from him than you're going to get from Bohm. And yeah, it
I
wouldn't
mean,
be
you're
a
getting
huge financial commitment
another right-handed power bat
with actual power.
with actual power.
Yeah, but you're also getting a ton of swing and misses again too. So that could be, that could also be a frustrating thing for people. But I think you have to look at it this way: do you just eat up the strikeouts because you're getting some extra production? I think at a certain point you're going to have to, because Bohm is getting to the point where like he's almost like the other night when he pops up first pitch, like his approach is just atrocious. Every time you think he hits a double, it's like, oh, maybe this is going to be it, and then he just has another terrible at bat. Like something's got to happen eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll have to just wait and see who's available, and Suarez would be an option.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the idea of making the move within the organization. Bringing the kid up from from the minors who has shown signs of life at that position. But part of me also doesn't love the idea of like if this team is battling for that one of those last wild card spots, having a handful of young guys in the lineup. It's not something I'm against. It's just not something I'm crazy excited about.
Yeah, and like he's not going to be a difference maker per se, right? It would be more like a stopgap just while you're waiting things
Right.
out with Aiden Miller, I think. So yeah, it's a tough situation to be in, and it's unfortunate because without this back injury, I think Aiden Miller is either in Philadelphia or is looking to be called up by June, I would say.
Yeah. Any other positions that you would look to make a move at? I know outfield is always in the conversation. any interest in Mike Trout? I know Mike Trout. He's having a better season,
He is.
but he's on
Excuse me.
he's on a
Huge deal.
bad. It's just again right. It is a humongous deal. But if they want to push the chips all in, right? He's having a bounce back season. He's and if this is it's all money at this point, right? Like you're either going to spend the money or you're not. And if you really want to I know this is kind of old, but like get the trophy back, like bringing in a right-handed power bat who would play epically well in this city. And solve a couple of your problems, right? He's going to be, he's a legitimate outfield, candidate with right-handed power that you can put at the top of your lineup. I don't know what it would take to get him at this point. Obviously, would have been cheaper in previous years when he wasn't as productive. Is that a guy you would consider kicking the tires on?
If we could guarantee that he was going to be healthy, yes.
For sure.
But it's yeah. I mean, I if they could figure out a way to do it, yeah, I'd be happy with it, right? I mean, he would definitely make the team better. I think though, like we're actually looking at a team now where the outfield isn't even my biggest concern, really. Which is weird to say for the Phillies because like Crawford's playing well, Marsh is playing out of his freaking mind.
Yeah.
And Adolis is exactly what I thought Adolis was going to be. Like frustrating 8 times out of 10, but then like, oh, okay, he hits a home run and his arm in the outfield. Oh my God. Like
he's got a couple of really great outfield assists.
And just like comparing that to what we saw with Castellanos, like, okay, the production at the plate might be pretty similar. You're going to have frustrating strikeouts. You're going to have a home run, maybe once every week or two. But the defense is like, wow, this is what a good right fielder looks like. I haven't seen that in a while. So like outfield, I'm not super concerned. And just from like a financial standpoint, again, it's not my money, so I don't care if the Phillies want to spend money and go over the do it.
Right.
Prices keep going up for everything anyway, so it's like, where's this money going? So yeah, I mean, I would love to have Mike Trout on the Phillies because I think even an older Mike Trout, and even if he misses, even if he plays 140 games, 130 games, like he's still going to make your outfield better. Sure. I just don't know. Again, like we don't have the deepest farm right now. Do you want to get rid of prospect capital for a guy who may or may not have a lot left in the tank and also has a crazy injury history at this point? So, for sure. Ideally, yes, but I would also have some hesitations.
Yeah. I think I think a guy that I would potentially look to like include as a trade chip is a guy who, in the World Baseball Classic, really impressed a lot of people around baseball. Like Dante Nori's value could not be higher right now,
right?
Because he's that has kind of like just continued into his minor league season. He's a guy, and there's also I don't know if the timelines are going to match up for when he would be ready to kind of to make his debut here. In terms of what and I say that with like the direction that this team is going. And like, do you bring up another young guy to put in the lineup to be in the next couple years? It's going to be like this one final push with this group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to match up. I think he probably still needs this year and maybe even a little bit next year to kind of refine himself down there. Also, you do that and you're looking at an outfield with not a lot of power. And you should really be getting power out of one of your corner outfield positions, if not both, ideally. And Nori can, maybe be like a 15 to 20 home run guy. Like I could picture he's basically, I think he can hit the amount of home runs that Alec Boehm is currently hitting when he should be hitting more. And but power, I think, up and down this lineup is an issue, because I was looking at it last night after Schwarber hit his home run. I'm like, how many does Harper have? So Harper has 9, Schwarber has 13, and then it drops off. Then there's like 3 guys who have 4, and you're really relying on 2 guys with all of your power. Like, I think we need to see more from Adolis Garcia.
Yeah.
Marsh is one of those guys where he's actually showing a little bit of power. I don't think he is a power guy. I would think he's another guy, 15, 20 home runs tops.
Yeah.
But they don't really have any of that. And you can't. And again, I know it's not everyone's favorite way to play, but like that's the way the game is today. You need pop, and you're not going to win games without it, because especially with a team that strikes out as much as the Phillies do, like small ball and just moving station to station isn't always something that this team is going to be able to do.
All right, so I'm so glad you brought that up, because the hottest team in baseball is the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the Cubs roster, I mean, Eric, they don't have huge guys. They don't have guys beside. They have just a pile of guys that are like 6'1" and under,
Mm-hmm.
and just hit the ball all over the field.
Yep.
And they could not be playing any better. And I'm looking at their statistics. They don't have a guy who's hit more than 9 home runs.
Right.
But they've got production up and down their lineup, and they just get traffic. There's traffic on the bases all the times. They're getting reliable starting pitching. This Cubs team is really, really impressive.
Yeah, they're a really fun team right now. And that's the thing. Like, they can play the small ball. They can go station to station with these guys. And so for them, they can get away with not having the pop. But for the Phillies, when you're kind of built, when you have a team that's kind of built around that, and your guys who are supposed to be getting on base aren't, like Trey Turner went through a couple games where I'm like, oh, maybe he's coming out of it. But he's back into not doing much. Stott hit those couple home runs, but he's also still hitting like 211 or 2 something, low 2s. Like, you just have a lot of guys not getting on base, and I don't want to say automatic outs, but like you get a guy on second base with no outs, and how many times do you sit here saying to yourself, "Is that guy going to score?" Right? Like, I mean, and most of the time, if you say no, you'd be correct.
So it's you're talking about a team that hasn't
lost.
They haven't lost a game since April 27th. Like they're playing just about as well as you possibly can, because they're just doing all the little things really well.
Yeah, they're a really well put together team, and they are a team that I think would be really scary to play in October.
Yeah, they're going to grind. Like they're a team that's just going to grind you into the ground with just being like the only way I like to describe them is like they're a pest. Like they're just never gonna let you breathe. They're gonna jump on you early. They're just gonna kind of build on that. Just really, really impressive what they're doing. And another guy in the Central. Did you see the 10-pitch stretch from Jacob Mizorowski?
Was this last night?
This was last. This was last.
I didn't.
I'm looking at a tweet from 13 hours ago.
Yeah, I know he pitched last night, but I was out, so I didn't actually see it happen.
He had a 10-pitch stretch where every pitch was either 102 or 103.
Wow. I did not see that yet.
10 straight pitches.
Yeah, I saw you pitch really well last night, but I did not see that. Wow.
Yeah, 102.4, 103, 102.8, 102.7, 103 point, like just crazy. And the craziest thing is that the last pitch is 103.6, which was the 10th of that stretch. The last pitch was the fastest one out of them all. He's just a really, really impressive pitcher. I can't even call – I was about to call him a prospect, but he's not a prospect anymore.
Yeah, he's solidified himself now.
For sure.
And as a starter, throwing that many pitches with that much gas, like usually starters, might, if they needed, really reach back and get one, they can, get one that fast, some of them. But typically you don't see them going all out for that long just because, it's eventually going to wear you down. But maybe
Uh-huh.
he's different.
All right, around baseball. Talk
Mhm.
to me about the American League, because I saw a tweet come across, and I was like, there's no way. There were two teams in the American League, the
Mhm.
Rays and Yankees, that were above 500, and nobody else.
The Guardians
Like,
are
and
now,
I know there
and
were
the
some
A's
teams
are
that were
now.
at
Yeah, but
500, but like I was
yeah,
like, two teams, and I literally had to like go, and I'm like, there's no way. And I go through and I look, and I'm like, yeah, holy shit! Like there's
yeah.
two teams that are above 500. Talk to me about what's going on in the AL.
Yeah, it's weird because for years the American League seemed to be the league that had that was more competitive, that had the really fun teams. But I mean, the AL East, everyone's kind of been underperforming, I think, except for the Yankees and the Rays have been
Yeah.
overperforming. But when you look at the Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Orioles, I think all of them are worse than what you would expect. The AL Central, I don't
Like you
really.
now have the Guardians. The Guardians are
Yeah.
29
And the
and
Tigers are
19.
like actually a fun team. I kind of like I usually will not watch AL Central games until they're on in the playoffs. But like the Tigers are kind of fun. The Guardians I don't think are actually that much of a fun team to watch, but they're just good. Like that
Yeah.
they just make things happen. And Minnesota is actually better than I thought, but they're still like not there's no team in the AL Central where I'm like, oh, they're a World Series contender. Now, maybe I eat my words later on, but I just don't see it.
Well,
And the
and
AL West is real interesting with the
yeah,
A's leading it right now. So yeah, but it's kind of nice seeing the Astros not be good anymore. I'm
yeah.
happy about that.
I was gonna say that to me feels like there's a little redemption in there
Yeah,
for their transgressions of previous years.
yeah,
And then a team that we just talked about with Mike Trout, but like the Angels are floundering, and they seem to me like a prime potential trade candidate. With the guy, because they have a decent amount of guys that are talented on their roster that they might be willing to part with. Um, but like the Scooble injury
hmm
and how that's going to affect the Tigers is something that I'm going to be watching, and they're in a rough stretch right now. The Tigers are 3-7 in their last
yeah.
10. Um it's really it's interesting to see how down the AL is,
It really is.
because for so long, and I think that the most surprising to me, out of all of this is the way that like the Blue Jays and Mariners are playing.
Yeah, there were the two I was just going to talk about. How they're like the Blue Jays. I don't know if it's like World Series hangover or what, but like
Could
not that
be,
they won it, but they're like no one's playing really the way that you would expect them to. The way they finished last year,
for sure.
and the Mariners are interesting, right? Like I feel like their pitching staff is touted always as one of the best pitching staffs in baseball, but you look at it and like Brian Wu, very good. Logan Gilbert, I think, is having a kind of down year. Like he's got like a mid-4 ERA right now. George Kirby, he's been struggling a little bit. Like they have these guys' names, but they're not really doing what they should. And I don't think they have the offense. Like they're a team that needs to rely on that rotation to take them, and then the offense to kind of be like an accompaniment to that. And I don't know if they have the offense necessarily. And like Cal Rowley's not going to replicate the year he had last year. So yeah, I think they might be in some trouble too.
All right, last thing, we're going to host the All-Star game this summer, and they've had a really funky start, and you would think that there would be a serious sense of urgency with the all the America 250 stuff, the World Cup, the hosting the All Star game. How many guys make this All Star game to be on the team?
So I would say right now, if Bryce keeps playing the way he is, he has to make it. I mean, he's been on fire. Brandon Marsh, if he can, even like do half the pace he is, maybe doesn't make it as a starter, but he should make it as a reserve. In terms of pitching, I still think Sanchez has is going to even out. I think he has a shot at making it. From a relief sense, I don't know if missing the time is going to hurt Duran. It might, because he's not going to have the save numbers to necessarily maybe get there. But I mean, I still think they get. I still think they get at least 2 or 3 guys there. Schwarber,
Okay.
did I say Schwarber? Because if he's just going to keep hitting home runs, I mean, that's something that fans are going to vote for. Like if he's at
Yeah, for sure.
20 some home runs by the All-Star break, he'll probably get in. So
Yeah, I got to
would say
imagine
those 3.
there's going to be a big push for people that are when fans are down at the stadium as as that approaches and the All Star voting opens, and it'll be a huge push from the Phillies to obviously try to amplify as many guys as they possibly can. And they're, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not doing that. And I haven't been down during that time stretch, but they're not doing like everything is digital at this point, correct?
As far as I know, I haven't been to a game where, like, I used to love going and they would give you those
The
little
paper
things you could
ballots
punch
with the
out.
little-
Yeah, you had to punch them out. That was so fun. I used to love going to games and doing that. Yeah, I think everything's digital now. You can vote up to I think 25 times a day or something. So, it's
Wouldn't be surprised if they has a pile of extra interns, Eric. Just
yeah.
just
I always
plugging
do
away.
when I'm voting. I always do I never vote 25 times a day, but I might vote 5 times over the course of the time the ballots are open, and I always do 4 serious ones where I think, okay, these are the guys who I think should make it, and then I just do one where I'm like all Phillies except for Bohm, and last year Castellanos, but I'll probably do the same thing this year.
Oh, that's fabulous, Eric. Anything we left out that you want to throw in before we jump off?
No, I just want to take advantage of bad teams. Lost to the Rockies last night. They need to take tonight and tomorrow. Really want to see Nola go 6 at least tonight. Save that bullpen. And just I really don't want the Flyers season to end yet. Like I know this is a Philly show, but I'm like I don't know what to wear. I'm going down to the Phillies game tonight. Problem I'm having is I want to also represent the Flyers while I'm down there. But now I'm not a big fashion guy, but one thing that I do know is that Phillies red and Flyers orange are not things that necessarily go well together. So I'm really in a spot here trying to figure out how I'm going to represent both teams down there.
Eric,
But
do you have a gray? Do you have a road jersey?
I do not for the Phillies.
Yeah,
That's my problem. I have a powder blue, I have a pinstripe, and I have the batting practice maroon Darren Dalton one. So I'm really in a spot. Now I have some great Flyers shirts that I could perhaps wear under a Phillies jersey.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be creative with your Philly tuxedo.
This is going to be a problem. So we'll have to figure this one out. And also, I'm going to have to see what I'm allowed to leave the house in, because sometimes what I'm seeing is not necessarily the same thing that my wife is seeing. So
I walked out last night. I put a jersey on. Anytime we go down, I put the jerseys on, and Lace is like, "Oh God, a jersey."
Yeah.
I just don't.
She doesn't mind the jerseys, but sometimes the colors that I wear under the jersey, like the long sleeve shirt, that I'm like, oh, this is blue. I can wear it with a blue jersey. She's like, those are different blues. What are you doing? I'm like, okay. Learning something new today.
Eric, we live the same life. It's total. Like here's the question I got. She goes, "Can you tuck it in?" And I was like,
the jersey.
I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah, that would be.
I was like, I will not walk around in public with my Mike Schmidt throwback jersey tucked into my shorts. Nope.
Unless you're wearing baseball pants with it and trying to act like one of the players and tuck it in, maybe. But I think otherwise you're gonna have people talking about you when they're
for sure.
Walking past.
I could end up on the internet.
Yeah.
In a compromised position.
Yes, exactly.
Having my sports fandom questioned, but I've definitely been there. Well, listen, I'm right there with you. I have no desire for these seasons to end.
I'm kind of ready for the Sixers to be done, honestly. They're just so.
Well, that has kind of I've almost kind of written that off. Tomorrow seems like it'll be the funeral of this season, and kind of just put that thing to bed. But the Flyer season, I think everything is found money at this point, and I think anything, and they've had opportunities to play a little bit better.
Yep, and it's a great experience
they
for some of these younger guys. Like everything is a positive with that.
yeah, and you're kind of seeing a little bit of what they need moving forward, but you're also getting these guys with really great experience, and that's the part that I'm kind of hanging my hat on. So like I'm right there with you. Any chance to kind of extend the series and get these guys more experience is kind of what I'm here for. And they've been in the games and they've had chances, they just haven't capitalized. They're
And the team
running
they're
up against
playing is just whew,
seven straight playoff games. They got a goalie
yeah,
who's in this series averaging one goal, giving up one goal a game. Saved a goal the other night. I was texting with Mark and Mike. Um, Saved a goal with his stick backwards and
yep,
upside down. Really just playing really well.
yeah,
But they've got to capitalize on some chances. So I'm right there with you.
yeah.
It's going to be a busy time down at the sports complex. I know you'll be down there tonight, but enjoy and listen. Go Flyers.
Go
Go Phillies.
Flyers, go Phils, go. Yeah, there we go.
It's all good. We'll catch everybody on the next one, but on the way out, it's all good stuff. I'm gonna play the Flyers outro, Eric.
Let's do it.